All right, so here's the last piece of the conversion from the military 24 12-volt alternator to the inexpensive Bosch 200 amp 12-volt only alternator. That's the inside of my truck blackout. And here's where the action is, right here for the electrical part. I ended up using this Orion TR Smart 12-24-15. It takes 12 volts, turns it into a battery charger that charges 24 volts, but it'll actually charge up to 28 or more at 15 amps. Is 15 amps enough? Well, we're going to find out. So apparently the transmission and the starter are on the 24 volt system. I'm not sure about anything else, but this is how it's wired up. I just screwed it down here, and that's pretty strong. I don't like the idea of really having it in here because of battery acid, but that's where it's going to be, at least for now, probably forever. So you have the 12 volt line here. These don't even need lugs. These are terminal screws that go right down there. They're really good and strong. Feel strong. That 12 volt here goes to this tap there. The ground goes to this tap. The 24 goes to the back one. And that's all it is for wiring. Now I do have shut-off switches in here. So this switch right here shuts off the output. The 24 volt is interrupted going to the batteries. So if I throw that switch, there's no load on this. It can't be taking anything, or shouldn't be taking anything off the batteries. The 12 volt is switched, but not this line. I switch it going up to the truck. This line's always hot, that line's always hot. This one comes right from here, which is also parallel to the battery. Let's see what's going on inside. So I put in these gauges here. Now these are pretty cheap. They're not really flickering like that. That's strobing from the camera shutter. These are on Amazon. They're cheap. What I did was I ran the wires. Oh, that still have the plastic on the top of it? Yeah. No, maybe not. I ran the wires up here. I just used tiny little drops of super glue underneath the meter. If I ever took it off, you wouldn't even see that these were there. These are on magnets. If you look under there, I don't know if you can see, but I super glue magnets to the bottom. That way I don't have to drill. Matter of fact, most of the stuff in here, if you look at that, that's the, what's that? That's the camera right there. That's also on a magnet. That's the control for the bass on the stereo. That's on a magnet. The stereo's on a magnet. All this stuff, the switches are on magnets. All this stuff can come out without drilling into the dash. If you want to change things, if you want to sell it, I haven't really messed it up that bad. So here we are, static, doing nothing. 25 volts on my 24 volt rail, because I'm actually charging right now because that's in the circuit. Even though the batteries, even though it's not running, that's putting power in, I think. No, actually there's a threshold. There's a lower threshold on the charger by which it's not in the circuit, and I'm probably under that. So let's go ahead and start it up. It's cold, so it might take a bit. Okay, immediately the battery came up to 14.5 volts. And we're looking at the 28 volt, 24 volt, whatever you want to call that over there, at 26.5. That's charging now. If we look at the original meter, it's right in the center there. It's not up very far. That will come up. Give it a second to charge the batteries up and see if that starts coming up. So with 26.8, 26.9, we're increasing the voltage into the batteries. I think I have it set for 27. It's adjustable. I can pick that saturation point where it shuts off. Just starting to come into the green on the original OEM meter. And again, I'm just idling here. It's actually a little bit above an idle. It's still cold at 14.5 volts off the alternator. And I'm still charging on the 24 volt system. Those are not flickering, by the way. That's just the camera. So if I want to, say, put a load on here, well, let's turn the idle down a little bit. We're still charging really good off that alternator. It's a really nice alternator, by the way. So let's turn on the headlights and see what happens. The headlights are on. I'm at an idle, and I'm still putting out 14 volts. We'll turn the idle all the way down. Look at that. That's as slow as this thing idle is, still putting 14 volts, 14.5 volts out of that alternator. That's really cool. Now if I turn on the lights up on the roof, which is a greater load, it's still keeping up. That's pretty amazing. I'll turn on the fan for the heater. And at an idle, it's still putting out plenty of juice. That's pretty damn impressive. That's a nice alternator, by the way. Shut those lights off, shut these off here. And you can see I'm coming up into the green here. We'll give it a little gas here. A little diesel. And that's charging just fine. So that's it. That's the final piece of it. Let me shut this off. And you can get that charger on Amazon. I think it was $150. It was less than $200. It has a Bluetooth interface that has tons of stuff to set. You can set the voltages to the 1/100th of a volt for when it turns on, when it turns off. There's a way that you can make it so it cuts out of the circuit when it's starting or when the engine's stopped. Very cool device and inexpensive. So between the alternator and that battery charger, I think I'm into this for, I know it's less than $500, but it's closer to, let me think, it was $350, about $500, somewhere in there. Well worth the effort, and I'm liking this. So there you go. Happy trails, troopers.